Before we begin today, Jake Malencic will be joining the show on March 18th, right after St. Patty's Day. He's going to give us the rundown on college basketball and March Madness right after the selection show takes place. And he's going to give us all the details on that. I'm going to be excited to have Jake on the show to make his first appearance. So we're going to have a little bit more guests on the show at the end of the month. Jerome Pedikowskis on March 25th, excuse me. We're going to be filming the show on March 23rd, but he'll be on March 25th's edition of Raw Takes. We're going to predict all of what's going to happen in Major League Baseball with all 30 teams. Stay tuned for that. We're going to try to get a few more personalities on the show for that one as well. Do a little bit of a round talk for all 30 teams, our predictions, our thoughts. So we're going to try to do something with March Madness too, maybe like a little bit of a kind of contest-esque thing, a little bit different than the Raw Takes giveaway that Kenny Miller won. He'll also be appearing on the show sometime with either this month or in the month of April. We're going to work it out with his schedule. He won the $50 gift card to the NFL team shop in the Hoty Raw contest, getting the most likes on his video. So we're going to have Kenny Miller hop on the pod at one point as well to give his thoughts on sports and debate me, but we all know he won't win in a debate. So yes, lots of special shows coming up. March 18th, March Madness special, predictions, brackets. Jake is a much bigger college basketball expert than I am. I'm still trying to figure that all out myself right now, but I'm going to get it all ready to go for that show with Jake. And then, of course, Jerome is going to join with hopefully a few more guests on the March 25th show. These are all on Tuesdays. And then we're going to work on Kenny's schedule, try to get him on the show as well. You'll get to see Kenny and see him as a guest, and he'll debate me on a topic right here on the pod. So excited for that opportunity for him. Will, who came in second place, thank you very much for participating in the contest. We're going to give him a shot to also probably debate me for a full segment as well on the show. So that's all coming up on Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. Make sure to stick around for that. As always, like, comment, subscribe to this video. All the social media links are in the description below. So let's get right to it here on Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. Hope you're having a wonderful day, as always. Let's start off in the NBA. The NBA is what's going on right now here in Cleveland. Obviously, the Cleveland Cavaliers 52-10. Tonight, they are taking on the all-world Charlotte Hornets. The all-world Charlotte Hornets. I am so excited to play the toughest opponent in the NBA, the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not that worried about tonight's game at all. If the Cavs lose tonight, they managed to lose to the Charlotte Hornets, we should make memes of the Cavs throughout the rest of the season because they lost to the Hornets. I'm dead serious. Like, just make memes of them. Like, even if they're the number one seed, they win 64, 65 games, just do nothing but make memes of the fact they lost to the Charlotte Hornets. But, of course, let's hope they don't lose to the Charlotte Hornets. They better not lose to the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets are awful. Having said that, Cavs doing really well. 2 big wins. The Miami game kind of streaky when it came to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Bam Adebayo was terrific in that game. And I'm worried about playing Miami in a possible first round of the playoff series. I think that could go 5 or 6 games. I don't think the Miami Heat would win that series because I think their main star, Jimmy Butler, being now with Golden State, is going to significantly hurt them when it comes to really competing in a playoff series. But having said that, I want nothing to do with the Miami Heat. We know that as an 8 seed, they could possibly disrupt you because their culture is so good. I want nothing to do with Miami after that game the other night. So, Cleveland Cavaliers getting back-to-back wins, though, earlier this week. They got a big one tonight against those raspy, great Charlotte Hornets. Oh, boy, I can't wait for that. But we'll see what takes place there. Like, the Cleveland Cavaliers, though, on a roll, obviously. And, this is a Cleveland-based show. We talk so much about the Cavaliers. We got to talk about some of these other teams in the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers. I did go on a tangent the other day on Raw Takes about how sick I am of LeBron James and Steph Curry. Still am. But, once again, back-to-back losses for the New York Knicks against the Lakers and the Warriors, and they're just on fire. And, I'm not necessarily rooting for the Knicks because they did beat my Cleveland Cavaliers a few years ago in the postseason. But darn, the Knicks are much more likable than the Lakers and Warriors right now. The Lakers are somewhat more likable because of Luka, but I'm so sick of both those teams, and if you want to know my full thoughts on that, watch the last edition of Raw Takes. The Knicks, I don't want to root for them because of what happened with the Cavs, but at the same time, I have to be honest when it comes to the Lakers and the Warriors. It's just getting old. So we'll leave it there. And you look at some of these other big stories around the NBA right now. When Oklahoma City now at 51 wins, the Cavs clinching the playoff berth, Boston now in the playoffs too. There's already, I think, a pretty good solidified feel for who these top 3 teams are going to be. The Lakers right now, they're the 2 seed. They're probably going to roll into being the 2 or the 3, but right now, it's really about Boston, Oklahoma City, and Cleveland. And I think that's how it should be right now in the NBA. Those are the 3 top contenders. The Cleveland Cavaliers, though, the fears of it them being a regular season team, I've also made mention on the last edition of Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. So I do have that fear that this could be a regular season team if they end up imploding in a postseason series, which I don't think is going to happen. I think they're going to force even the best possible foe to 7 games. But that's really where I'm at with the Cleveland Cavaliers. An implosion in the postseason is something that better not happen. It just better not happen when it comes to the Cavaliers. And that's the same thing for the Oklahoma City Thunder, too. The Thunder imploded in the postseason last year against the Dallas Mavericks. The Thunder better get themselves to the Western Conference Finals. Almost said East there. They better get themselves to the Western Conference Finals. It's going to be really important for them. And now that Chet Holmgren's getting healthy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, probably the MVP of the league this year. It's a small market team. Sam Presti, I think the pressure on him is going to continue to grow and grow and grow. He's gotten so many assets, so much talent, built super teams since the Oklahoma City Thunder became a team after they moved from Seattle. He's done such a terrific job there and has 0 rings to show for it. We're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder as though they're a historic franchise all the time. They're practically brand new to the block and have always really been good. I think I can only remember those 3 or 4 years. It's like San Antonio, small market team that's always been good until recently. That's really what it's going to come down to if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sam Presti, the pressure is on to win a championship sooner than later. Because I think we're going to look at the whole Sam Presti era. If there ends up being no rings out of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren and all the guys they had prior. James Harden was there for a little bit. Russell Westbrook. Obviously Kevin Durant's prime. Paul George was there for a little bit. And Paul George, now with Philadelphia, Paul George is not the Paul George he was when he was with Indiana or OKC. But having said that, you've accumulated all this talent over these years and have 0 championships to show for it. That's a big thing, and I think a lot of people's minds, including mine, Oklahoma City better find their way to win a championship within the next couple of years, but at least get to the Western Conference Finals this year. Maybe you lose to a Denver, or hopefully not the Lakers. You better not lose to the Los Angeles Lakers, because their defense is not very good. But maybe you lose to a Denver Nuggets, or maybe a Memphis Grizzlies, who are kind of young and upcoming like you. But I think the pressure's on OKC to win it all this year. Milwaukee, I think there should be some pressure there too. When it comes to Doc Rivers, I've made my points clear on that all season long. I don't think he should be a head coach in the NBA much longer. I think he should be fired from Milwaukee just because I don't think he's a great head coach. I think he was a great head coach at one point. Don't think he is anymore. I think that's been exposed even more with the Milwaukee Bucks. But the Giannis legacy thing, I think, is huge. And this goes for Nikola Jokic as well. Giannis has a championship ring. It was on a shortened season, which might hurt it a little bit, but I don't think it should. Giannis has a legacy established now, but he's ring chasing at this point. It's really where his career needs to be focused on, is winning a championship for the Milwaukee Bucks yet again. And this goes for Nikola Jokic as well with the Denver Nuggets. I mean, your legacies are going to be established by how many rings you win. And one ring, yeah, sure, that establishes you as a champion. You're always going to be remembered as a champion. But when you look at Dirk Nowitzki with the one ring he has, are we going to look at Dirk Nowitzki in the same way we look at LeBron James? Obviously not. They're not even in the same category, but still. LeBron James has 4 rings. Or Steph Curry even. Steph Curry has 4 rings. I mean, and maybe those are a little bit extreme, but even guys that have 2 rings, like Kevin Durant. You look at Dirk Nowitzki in that conversation with Kevin Durant. Like, Dirk Nowitzki has 1 ring to show for it. He did beat LeBron James in that series, granted, but that's kind of where I look at Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo right now. As guys that won 1 ring. And 1 ring is great. You're a champion forever. Great. Kobe Bryant has 5 rings. Shaquille O'Neal, 3 rings back-to-back with the Los Angeles Lakers. Back-to-back, excuse me. And he did win one with Miami a few years later, so 4 rings total. You look at Michael Jordan with 6. No one's going to compare to that, obviously. But guys that win 1 rings, yeah, you're going to be remembered, but you're not going to be remembered with all these bigger names. I put Dirk, Giannis, and Nikola Jokic in the same category right now. And I know they're all international players, coincidentally, but they're all in the same category to me as 1-ring guys that had a tremendous season, maybe tremendous seasons, but never got it done for significant amounts of time. The Boston Celtics have essentially owned the Milwaukee Bucks since the Milwaukee Bucks won the finals in 2021. And if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown end up winning another ring this year, then I'm going to put those 2 guys maybe even above the conversation with Giannis, Dirk Nowitzki, and Nikola Jokic, because they had even more sustained success. And Nikola Jokic still may too. I think Nikola Jokic has more likelihood than a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo of having more sustained success because I think the Denver Nuggets are right now a much more stable organization. But right now, I put Giannis, Nikola Jokic, and Dirk Nowitzki all in that same kind of category. Coincidentally, all international players, but all guys that won one ring and dipped. That's really where I look at it right now. And that's fine. They have great legacies, all-time great players. We're not going to talk about them in the same light as we talk about the Kobe Bryants and the Shaquille O'Neals. Obviously, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, another level. Or even Larry Bird conversations. Like, Larry Bird has 3 rings. Like, guys that have won multiple rings and have had sustained success not for years and years and years, even if they only won 2 or 3 rings. If you're a 3-ring guy, you're better than a 1-ring guy, in my view. So that's going to be the pressure now on Giannis and Nikola Jokic. I think the Jokic situation is a lot better. Giannis with the Milwaukee Bucks, that's a little streaky, and Doc Rivers being the head coach doesn't help them out. When you look at some of these other teams like the Indiana Pacers, to me, they're weird because they were kind of weird last year. They found themselves in the Eastern Conference Finals and really didn't know where to go from there because Boston was such a juggernaut. To me, they're still competing in a lot of games this year. Pascal Siakam has been on fire. I still believe in Tyrese Halliburton, but there's just no defense out of that unit whatsoever. And so for me, Indiana, taking them very seriously is starting to get lower and lower. I like to take Detroit seriously. If I'm the New York Knicks, I know Jalen Brunson went down the other night. Hopefully he gets back up and healthy for the New York Knicks at some point. But do you want to play Detroit in the first round if Jalen Brunson is not healthy? I don't know if you do. J.B. Bickerstaff has those guys quite good right now. And J.B. Bickerstaff is still a tremendous coach. I know he's no longer with the Cavs. It was the right move. But I don't know if I want to play the Detroit Pistons right now either if I'm not just the Indiana Pacers. I know they're a seat ahead of them. But if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks or the New York Knicks, if I end up holding on to that 3 seed, if I'm the Boston Celtics maybe even, I mean, I don't think the Detroit Pistons are going to beat the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series. But having said that, something about the Detroit Pistons, they're just sneaky good right now. And I don't know if you want to run into that in the postseason. And if they get the New York Knicks, I do not want to face a fully healthy Pistons team. To me, that is pretty scary. And it's the same thing for the Cavaliers when it comes to playing the Miami Heat. They barely beat the Miami Heat the other night with no Tyler Hero in the lineup. That's what concerns me. And Atlanta and Miami right now, I think they're pretty much bubbling for that play-in game. That's kind of scary to me if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, too. So lots going on in the NBA. Obviously, big headlines with Luka Doncic still on the Lakers, getting them hot. The Warriors getting hot again, and now in the playoffs at the 6th seed. Sacramento, they've been playing really, really well. They're still in play-in range, though. Probably will remain there. But the Sacramento Kings have been playing relatively impressive lately, too. So they're a team to kind of watch right now. The Houston Rockets have kind of come down to earth. I still don't necessarily know if you want to play them in a playoff series, if you end up being the Memphis Grizzlies. But that's another series I think could be pretty interesting if it's Memphis and Houston. Still 2 young teams really on the rise and up and coming because Denver is getting older at the end of the day, even though Denver is still going to pretty much be what we know them to be with Michael Malone coaching and Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. The LA Lakers, though, oh man, with Luka there now, that's changing too, but I still don't like the defense. That defense is going to need work. And OKC is the juggernaut right now. But it's going to come down to who are these conference finals teams going to be? Are we going to have Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, and LA Lakers, Oklahoma City Thunder? I think it would be great for the NBA to have an OKC Cleveland championship series. I think it would be good. You got a medium-sized market, relatively medium-sized market, more on the smaller end, going up against a really small market in OKC. I think it would be great for the NBA. Ratings maybe wouldn't be as high, but let's be honest here. Oklahoma City being a small market, they're kind of fun to root for. And obviously I'm a Cleveland fan, so that bias is there. The Boston Celtics, LA Lakers, is anybody really rooting for that? The NBA might be. But, oh, man, that would be chilling to me to see those 2 teams go at it in the finals and know that both of them are pretty much not really well-loved right now. Maybe the Lakers are more so because we all love Luka, but, man, that would be one heck of a series. It'd kind of be Luka's revenge to go after Boston yet again after what happened last year. And the Lakers supporting cast, slightly better than the Dallas supporting cast that Luka had last year. But overall, though, still a really weird move by the Dallas Mavericks, who are probably going to be booing Nico for a long, long time coming. So, yeah, I mean, that would be another finals that I definitely don't want to see, though, just because it's 2 large markets, nauseating fans, and respectable organizations and teams, but, oh, man, I don't want to see that. And you know my feelings on the Lakers and LeBron James right now. I'm sick of it. So, that's my thoughts on that. I'm rooting for Cleo OKC more than I am Boston LA, but we're going to have to see how this all transpires going down the wire as the regular season's about to really come to a conclusion. The Cavs on their way to 60-plus wins, and I think they're going to be able to clinch that number one seed. Boston's still on their tail to a degree, but they're about 7-8 games ahead. I think it's important the Cavs just seal the deal on that number one seed as soon as possible. Get 8 or 9 games ahead of Boston. Get 10 games ahead of Boston. Do whatever it takes. Lock down that number one seed. And the Cleveland Cavaliers getting home court advantage is going to be really, really important. And it might be really, really important that Cavs clinch the best record in the NBA. Because if they do clinch the best record in the NBA, they might have home court advantage with OKC coming to town as well. So, going to be really important for the Cavs to try to get the best record in the NBA down the stretch. Let's move on to some football here. Some big moves this week that took place. Deebo Samuel is going to be a Washington Commander. That move was really intriguing to me because I think, obviously there is some good weapons in Washington. McClutchin comes to mind, but I look at Jaden Daniels being the superstar quarterback that I think he's going to be long term, and I look at the Eagles. The Eagles are probably going to get a little worse this upcoming season. The Commanders probably need a weapon. They got one. The defense is pretty loaded now. Maybe they'll get Myles Garrett, but I think that's really all the help the Commanders need offensively right there in itself. Deebo Samuel, as long as he's healthy, is going to be a huge option for Jaden Daniels to compete with the Washington Commanders in the NFC East. In a division I think they're going to easily win next year. I think you look at the NFC East history all the way back to, I think, 2009 or 10. It's a different division winner every season. And so far, Super Bowl championships have come out of that. The New York Giants won one in 2011. Philadelphia Eagles have won 2 of them in 2017 and now 2023. Or 2024, excuse me. So that's going to be huge for the Washington Commanders to get Deebo Samuel to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles and get themselves in position to compete in the NFC and be a top team. Right now, I think the Commanders have the ability to possibly be the 1 seed with this move next year in the NFC. Obviously, there's 17 games for them to play and a long way to go. We don't even know what the schedule is yet. But Deebo Samuel is the kind of move that if you're the Washington Commanders, you make because you're in this thing for the long run and you know that Jaden Daniels is going to be a superstar quarterback after the season he just had. You're ready to go in a division that doesn't have division repeat champions. Jaden Daniels is that good. You're going to be on that level with the Philadelphia Eagles next year. Probably even better than that. Do the Dallas Cowboys look like they're getting any better right now? They're making questionable coaching hires. I mean, what are they doing bringing in Ken Dorsey for crying out loud? Everybody in Cleveland could tell you Ken Dorsey's not a good idea. Everybody in Buffalo could tell you Ken Dorsey's not a good idea. There's some problems going on with the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't think they're going to get any better. And obviously the Giants are a mess. They're looking to probably draft a quarterback. Will they even draft a quarterback? They might have to go to the free agent market because they have a lower pick. And they're probably not going to get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. But honestly, I'm not sure if you want either of those guys either way. We're starting to see out of the combine that there is some red flags when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. I think more so off the field. And to be honest with you, I love Deion Sanders. I love the Colorado story. I like Travis Hunter a lot in this draft. No, I'm not sold on Shedeur Sanders. I get he had an awful offensive line to play with, but to me, he doesn't beat really good programs at the college level. How can I expect that guy to be NFL ready? I'm sorry, Colorado, and I will still stick to this, did not play very good opponents all year last year. And they lost to bad ones. Their 3 losses. Yes, it was a significant improvement. And Deion Sanders deserves credit. Significant improvement. And the Colorado story is great. But they're not beating anybody good. They're not beating Ohio State or Oregon or any of those top teams. They're not beating Texas or any of those even top SEC schools. And the SEC stunk this year. So the hype around Colorado is strictly Deion Sanders related. And as much as I love Deion Sanders and love the Colorado story, I don't know if that just means you're going to translate to having great NFL talent. Travis Hunter, I do believe, has got great talent for the NFL. I don't know if he's going to be as good as advertised, but I think he's going to be a great player. Shedeur Sanders, doubtful. And I do like Cam Ward. I think he has more upside. But to me, I'm not so sure Cam Ward's going to be better than the guys coming out in next year's draft class. To me, this is starting to kind of remind me of the 2022 draft class. Not as bad quarterback-wise. I think Cam Ward's going to be a solid guy, but there's just a lot of question marks around this. And if you're the Cleveland Browns right now with the 2nd pick and Miles already requesting a trade, you're going to want to get Miles probably somewhere else, get assets for it, maybe get a guy next year. I mean, even people in town are not that buzzed about the Cleveland Browns right now. We got a basketball team that's 52-10. We got a team in Major League Baseball just coming off an ALCS. And while they had some stupid offseason moves, they're coming back and they're going to try to compete, hopefully, for another World Series title. Might be tough, but people are more faithful. The Guardians will figure things out. And obviously the Cavs speak for themselves right now. I think right now the Browns are just in a really awkward position. And I'm not that worried about it as a Browns fan because I got two other teams in town that are getting the job done right now. So that's my thoughts on that. The other big thing, DK Metcalf requesting a trade from the Seattle Seahawks. To me, that's a big move. I think DK Metcalf would be a great player elsewhere, and he claims he wants to play for a contender. But the thing that's weird about Seattle is they were 10-7 last year. Are they that far away is still a question. Geno Smith had a really good year, but Seattle didn't really beat great teams. And in all honesty, they did not beat great football teams. They beat okay ones. So I'm not so sure the Seattle Seahawks are a team that's going to be competing in the long run. No. But to me, they still didn't really necessarily have a bad season. They did miss the playoffs, but that's about it. They were still 10-7 last year. I still feel like they have a good foundation. But if you're DK Metcalf and you want to go play somewhere else, there's some teams out there that might be good considerations. Maybe Green Bay. I mean, that would be a good one, I think, for Jordan Love. Get him another weapon. Maybe you get him to Buffalo. I think that would be good. Anything but Kansas City would be great. But if you're Seattle, you probably want to get him out of the NFC. So maybe look at some of those AFC contenders and try to get some assets off for DK Metcalf. But that's a big stunner there, too. I did not expect that. DK Metcalf does want out of Seattle, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Seattle Seahawks handle that situation. Maybe they pull a Cleveland Browns and keep saying we're going to keep him. And maybe the Browns keep Myles Garrett, but those are two huge names right now that want out of the situation they're currently in. And that's with the Browns and Myles Garrett and the Seahawks and DK Metcalf. We'll have to see how that transpires. The draft is coming up. Are the assets, are the hauls going to come for those guys? We'll have to wait and see. That's it for today's edition of Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. We'll be back next week with more. Stay tuned for that. No more Short Take Weekend. Of course, just want to give that update as well. Just the show on Tuesday and the show on Friday. Stay tuned for all of it. Have a good one, everybody. Make sure to check out the show on social media with the links below. And make sure to listen to Oldies Amplified this weekend on 88.3 FM, The Sting in the Cleveland area, or WBWC on the TuneIn app, or WBWC.com around the world. We're going to play all your old school favorite rock hits from 11 to 2 at night. So make sure to check that out. Have a good one, everybody.